Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor. Call you sponsor.
Welcome back to Bitch Call Your Sponsor. I'm Sam.
Hi, Sam. I'm Misty.
Hello, Misty.
Hello.
Primary purpose?
Yes. Our primary purpose is to grow our friendship.
Yes, and to grow their friendship.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
And maybe help others. So the topic I brought for us today is, I'm calling it meditation / conscious contact. And so, I always used to hear like prayers speaking to, higher power universe, and then meditations listening. I came across this thing. I'm going to read. It's a few sentences here, which for me relates more to conscious contact, and then I'm going to throw it back to you. There is a very interesting mechanism that the universe has to help you make spontaneously correct choices. The mechanism has to do with sensations in your body. Your body experiences two kinds of sensation. One is a sensation of comfort. The other is a sensation of discomfort. At the moment you consciously make a choice, pay attention to your body and ask your body, if I make this choice, what happens? If your body sends a message of comfort, that's the right choice. If your body sends a message of discomfort, then that is not the appropriate choice. So I read this and I thought like, wow, this is from seven spiritual laws of success. And this for me is all about like intuition, like being in my body and connected versus like my brain, which is like the pros and cons list. And so when I read it, it just really resonated for me. And so I thought to bring it here and get your experience.
I love it. It is giving David Hawkins. It's giving kinesiology, where he talks about like putting music up to your chest and seeing if it, resonates with you or makes you lean forward or lean back. It's also how Misty goes gambling, as we've learned about in another episode. So go check that out. And it's exactly what we're talking about. And I just got this like shot in the arm of realizing, so that's why I drink, so that I wouldn't have to check in with my body of what felt comfortable and what didn't. And then when I got sober, that's when I started thinking 100 miles an hour and keeping busy so that I don't have to check in with my body and see what's comfortable as opposed to what's not. And now doing this work, it's like, that's the way to be in the present. That's the only, and I always thought like meditation, being in the present, all of that had this otherworldly like monk status. Like to be in the present meant I can do absolutely no wrong and have to have the highest good and the highest thought and be the best person in the world. And I can't do that, so I'm not going to be in the present. And I'm realizing like being in the present just means like you're not thinking.
Oh God, something was in my brain and it just escaped. It's interesting, the meditation piece. So what I'm hearing, what I heard you say and what I identify with was like the discomfort, right? And then drinking and pouring out. For me, I poured alcohol and drugs all over everything. Because I couldn't be okay with anything really. And then first got sober, I was like, wow, my brain is really loud. There's a lot of narratives happening simultaneously, and they're all not helpful at the end of the day. And meditation has brought me back in my body. And what's interesting is what was coming up for me this week is I remember a friend had shared in a meeting that their meditation, so they like used to say that their alcoholism is like a kid those negative thoughts and those incessant thoughts are like a kid pulling on their parent's pant leg, trying to get their attention, right? And his meditation practice was to set the timer for however many minutes and then pay attention to that kid and say, okay, go, have at it. And literally just go down every nook and cranny, pay full attention to that negative Nelly voice, and then the alarm goes off and it's like, okay, you've had your time. See you tomorrow,
Wow.
I know. And I have not tried that. And I have not heard anyone share that since. However, I thought like, wow, if I ever run out of runway with any of the different meditation practices I'm currently practicing, I'll try that one on for size. But I've always made sure to pass it on because I've not actually heard that. I've done the breathing, the guided meditation, the mantra meditation, which is, I do TM now, which is mantra, but you know what I mean? But to actually full on focus on all of that, the kid pulling the pant leg, I thought was like genius.
I love that. That so resonates with my thought life on spiritual principles. And I like the analogy I've heard before, which is exactly the same thing of the dog, that you're walking the dog and is it pulling you down the street, or do you have control of your thoughts and it heals and it sits? But I love that idea of just going, okay, go hog wild. Like, here's your time. And you get to be fearful and raise all the concerns and bring them to me. I can just picture this kid like running in the forest and going and getting the bugs and then bringing them back and wanting you to acknowledge it. And yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's actually really genius in the sense of, through the lens of ACA, is actually listening to, that fearful child, and not having to intervene, just literally just holding space for the child, ultimately.
Yeah, and I'm all about whatever you resist persist. So, all those thoughts that you're not willing to just take a minute and allow, it's not like they're not there. They're there. They're actually controlling you. They're actually ruling you. And, just like all of us want to be heard with this internal family systems, what it's saying is like things in your body, things in your thoughts, things in your past, they want to be seen and heard and acknowledged and validated. And then they won't rule us in a way that is not empowering or helpful.
And then what has been your experience with, so I'll share, so for me, what happens is when I'm in the moment, if I'm on a halt, obviously, that impacts my ability to tap in and really be present. And then in certain high stakes situations and or new situations. So I keep sharing about work since it's the newest thing on the platter, where I question because I'm not tapped in. I'm so in my brain, and so I'm not making bad decisions or wrong decisions or decisions that I'm regretting. I'm just not in as much flow as I'm used to being in when I'm connected, So I don't, it's just, I'm just noticing, and I'm not shutting myself or anything. I'm just noticing, and I'm, maintaining my spiritual practice, whatever I'm doing, the prayers, the alarm clocks, the meditation, and then also allowing them all not to be there, so that I'm not a prisoner of it. And I'm not this uber structured thing where it's no, this is what we've got to do, So I don't know if you have any tricks or tips or, when you're going through stuff that, is helpful. I know the book says to pause, when agitated or doubtful, which is what I usually don't do.
Yeah, I mean, my head says we don't have time to pause. The pausing is, there's no time for that. Like, look at you. You're at this job and you have to work and you have to be hyper vigilant. Like, are people thinking of you? Or are they thinking you're not doing a good enough job? So not only do you have to think 24/7 about your job, but you have to think about how people are perceiving you of your job. And are you kidding? There's no time to sit for 20 minutes and be quiet. No, we just have to keep going. We have to keep doing this. There'll be time for that later. That's what it tells me. And so it's really difficult not listening to that voice because the world says that's the voice to listen to. Be busy, be hurried, think, and it doesn't ultimately serve me. And it's it's just a really hard habit to get out of. And I'm not out of it. I still have it where the temples of my brain are pressing in, going, think harder, not go take a pause.
Yeah, I think that's my default too. And it's, I think with technology and stuff, it's, I really am seeing this, at least from several news articles, that there's like a trend of like a phone-free, not world, but a phone-free period of the day that people seem to be embracing. I know Huberman does his thing. And then I was reading something with one of the Kardashians where they're like, yeah, I'm phone-free at this, I go phone-free from these hours, where I'm like, I'm not on my screen. And I was like, oh, I'm like, there was a Times piece saying how some woman switched to a flip phone for a month, and shared about all the benefits that she got, that, it took her time to send a text message with only however many buttons, and it wasn't as efficient on the work front, but she felt more connected and less, disconnected, which isn't that funny how that works of like, going back analog, one feels actually more connected to the world and the universe and people versus scrolling, and so like, what was my point? My point is that, I don't know. I think different strokes for different folks. I've been trying to do like a phone-free part, of my day in the morning, and it's not all or nothing. Like I'm still on it. I'm just not on certain apps, because for me that it's like some can just be highly addictive. And then like before I know it, I'm like an hour into something that I was like, oh, this wasn't the best use of my time this second, or this isn't how I sometimes I'll log onto one of these social networks looking for something, and then I'll be on there for 10 minutes and then I'll snap out of it and be like, wait, I went on here looking for something, but I literally was drawn into something, but I forgot the whole point of like, no, I wanted to go to the search and search somebody on that, you know what I mean? And I was like, and then I forget, and then I have to snap out, I go out of it. And then like a few minutes later, I was like, oh, that's why I went on,
Right.
That's been multiple cycles for me, which is scary, where I'm like, wait, no, I went on there to look for somebody. And here I am again, and it's like, it's a bit scary. That happened a few times for me this week.
So I have ADD. So it happens to me all the time, all day long with everything. And what I do is I keep an open tab of task on Google Docs. And it's the checklist one. And so every time I'm going and doing this and I think of 3 things as I'm writing an email, what I used to go do is go tackle one of those 3 things and come back to the email, and then I'd remember a second one and go tackle that one. And now I just write everything down on that task list and keep going with the email. So I'm like, I see you, brain. I see you jumping around. Okay, I'm taking you seriously. I'm going to write that down. But we're not doing it right now. We're going back to the email. So it's been quite the process. It is amazing what my mind remembers when I'm paying attention. Because I'm like, wait, how did you remember that 2 Mondays ago we had done this thing and we didn't follow up on it? What? So I love that. And for me, it's quite normal to go into the social stuff and get, bogged down. And I like the thing of no screens. I mean, it terrifies me. My heart, I mean, obviously there's an addiction because my heart just starts palpitating and saying, absolutely not. And honestly, if the Kardashians are doing it, I don't want to do it. You know, that's not a sell for me. Huberman, sure. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously necessary.
Bitch, call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
Send us an email with comments, questions, or concerns bcysponsor@gmail.com.
Don't forget to rate 5 stars.